Heavenly Father, we come to you today. Thank you for this moment, for this opportunity.
It's times like that that headship reminds me that you have to become who you were designed to be. Because there is somebody who is waiting on you to plant a seed. It's not just about who you are. It's about the change that you are enabled to create in this world.
Give everybody some tools, maybe some strategies that we can take home from today's panel. What advice would you give to someone maybe struggling with confidence or identity within themselves? What advice might you give someone here today?
And love yourself. That's my advice. Love yourself. You dope enough. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. Like, I think we always looking for outside validation. Like, and then that's why you struggle. You know that your coping mechanism, you want to look at, man, I wonder how they go approach me in this room. I don't care how they go feel me in this room. I'm going to go in here being me. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be what it's going to be. I'm going to be happy and they going to be whatever they going to be. Their opinions of me is not my business.
Not your business.
They not my business. You can't put all that, like this brother said, you can't put all that weight on everybody else. It's your life, right? So coping mechanism number one is like, man, you got to be your number one cheerleader. That's first. Affirmations. If you ain't speaking greatness in yourself, even when it's the toughest of times, that's when I get on my self-proclaimed stuff. I be like, oh, it's raining today. This perfect weather for me to get it, right? Like, you feel me? You ain't gonna find a bigger cheerleader than me. You feel me? For me, you're not gonna find a bigger cheerleader for Warren Broadnax than Warren Broadnax. If you got a bigger cheerleader for you than you cheating yourself. You cheating yourself. Like, I don't care if you're married and your husband, my husband just lift me up more. What if he ain't? What is it that he ain't? Then you gonna be depressed and down? You tripping. He might need you to lift him up. So I think the main thing is the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you look at yourself, and what you gotta realize is stay off social media. Everybody struggling. Everybody messed up. Nobody got it figured out. Absolutely nobody. They posting 1 out of 1,000 photos and 1 out of 1,000. Going running out of storage trying to look good. You feel me? They're running out of storage.
Are y'all taking 1,000 photos?
No, some of them are, bro.
I mean,
some of them are. Some of them are, bro. I'm in the beauty industry, brother. I know these things. You know what I'm saying? I'm at the photo shoots. I'm having them. I know these things. So you got to realize, like, because again, a lot of people will minimize ourselves when we comparing ourselves to others. You know what I'm saying? That's what you doing. You looking at, oh, man, I got to get my belly. Man, forget them. You good where you at. You on your journey. You better than yesterday. Keep on moving forward and you'll be all right. Like, you got to validate yourself.
Another drop the mic.
Go ahead.
I was saying just another drop the mic. The only simple thing that I say that you could do when we talk about tools and actually physically doing something is when you wake up in the morning, you need to affirm yourself. It's really important to affirm yourself. Literally look in the mirror. I know y'all have heard it before, but look in the mirror, writing down some little notes, putting it up so you can remind yourself who you are and who you came from. Like I said before, I am who I am. That's what when people ask God who he was, what did he say in the word? He said, I am that I am. That's what he said. And so since we are many gods, meaning we are made in his image, we have the ability and the right to say that exact same thing, right? Because we come from him. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, period, with a T. That's it. So, you know, and we all struggle with that. We all struggle with our insecurities. And like you said, when we're on social media, you know, and women, I can only speak for the women. Sometimes we be like, she cute. You know, we do that naturally. But at the end of the day, you have to love yourself. That's why FLY is an acronym. First, love yourself. And I try to personally implement that in all that I do. And when I begin to feel insecure, that's when y'all got to put on my makeup, put on my clothes, you know, whatever be fly, do what I need to do to make myself feel good and remind myself who I am. That part.
If you feel that whatever deficiencies that you had, I'm a big proponent for therapy. So because you may look in your mirror and look in the mirror, and when what you see reflecting back on you is childhood trauma. You got to go ahead and deal with that. Go get with a good therapist so you can get healed from those broken childhood idiosyncrasies that you've been through, and do the work on that. And then once you do the work, that's what I talk about redefining who you are to get to an identity, because you may be 40 years old, but you still see yourself as that 12-year-old that was bullied throughout elementary. And so no matter what someone says to you, no matter blocking somebody, it's still not going to help, because you keep showing up everywhere you go. Any relationship you go into, you're the common denominator in all those relationships. I remember dating someone who said that no matter how much I tell them that I love them and how worthy they are, they never felt worthy.
Wow.
So no matter how much I edify them, no matter how much I affirm them, she said, you cannot pretty much convince me of what I've already convinced myself. And what I've convinced myself is I'm unworthy. And I felt like I was deficient in me loving that person. I kept saying, well, gosh, maybe I tried this a little bit more. Well, maybe if I say this, maybe if I do this. And one day she just stopped me and said, I don't see myself worthy of love. Wow. And so at that point I had to take my hands off, and she said, I need to go through therapy or whatnot. And so therapy is so important because it excavates all the pain, all the stuff that you went through, and allow you to face yourself for the very first time. And so that's what I think is most important, is people go do the work so that they can show up as a new version in this world and not keep showing up as the old version.
That's great.
Yes.
And can I just?
Yeah, please. Either way.
No, I was just going to piggyback on what you said, and thank you for bringing that up, because I know in the Black community, a lot of us shy away from going to therapy, and I go to therapy. Thank you, Jesus is helping. We just think all we need is Jesus, but that is not true, y'all. We need Jesus and we need therapy, just like Jesus, therapy, and a little bit of coffee too. But I need all three. But it's really important, because the biggest lie that we were ever told was that what happens in this house stays in this house. Biggest lie that we were ever told, because it keeps us in that place of generational curses where things are not broken, and we stay in that place of broken, in that spinning wheel, and not understanding why haven't things changed, why can't I get right, why can't I feel better. And so, like he stated, please really consider, use your insurance or whatever, ask the people at your job, you can get some free mental help, because it's really important. And I just really appreciate you for saying that, because I did not personally share that I'm currently in therapy, and it has really, really, really helped me a lot.
No, that's awesome. When we talk about tips and things like that, I would say, one, we all have to live on purpose. That's the first thing. We need to figure out what that purpose is if you do not know. After that, you need to believe in yourself. So a lot of what everyone's talking about, believing in yourself, you have to be your number one cheerleader. You have to know that you can do it. And after that, you got to know your words of power. What you're saying, what you're speaking is very important. How you're speaking to yourself, how you're saying things to yourself. You got to be mindful of that person, of what you're speaking. And then I would say, lastly, your vision. You got to make it plain. Like, what is your vision? And I have two things that I do. I have a lifestyle board and a vision board. And so on your lifestyle board, that's all the cars, how you want to live, things like that. But your vision is what God gave you. Your vision is that thing that you maybe dreamed about when you was a little kid that you wanted to do or decided you want to do. If you're still breathing, you could still live that out. So it's like, whatever that vision is, that's what you put on that board. All of those things created with whatever the logo is, whatever that desire that you have that you want to do, that's on that board. So I would say for those tips, and take control of the power of right now, today, the moment, right in the second. Don't worry about last week, what you did yesterday. Right now, what can you do right now to change? What can you do right now to better yourself, better your life, better your situation? Like she said, generational curses, what could you do right now? And it doesn't matter if it's something small, just do something little. It doesn't matter how big, how small you do it, just do something each day, and you'll look up and you'll be there.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So,
because it doesn't come natural for us. For so long, we've always been taught big boys don't cry and things like that. So, as a teen, as an adult, I'm the OG now in therapy, so they call me the OG. As the OG in therapy, we still have to strive for vulnerability in our relationships. And I want to ask you guys, what does masculine vulnerability mean to you?
That's a tough one. I think that it means showing your emotions. I think we try to hide our emotions behind anything that we go through, anything that we deal with. We'll hide those emotions, kind of bottle them in, and won't release them. And emotions are meant to be released. that's what vulnerability is, really.
Me personally, because I have two daughters, like I got 3 kids, so my son is the oldest. Me, vulnerability, masculine vulnerability, one more so when I look at my kids, it's for them to be able to read me, like, not just as their parent, but also as a black man today, you know, raising them in this society. So being able to be vulnerable and transparent for them so they can see the struggles that I've gone through and to be able to relate to them.
And the thing is that us as men, we have to redefine what masculinity looks like. We're in the mold that we are not supposed to be soft for our partners and anybody else, and it's hurting us more than it's helping us. Yeah. So for me, masculine vulnerability is like rediscovering myself. And then when I rediscovered myself after divorce, I had to sit in that for a second. I had to sit in that and realize who I was and what things I needed to correct. Yeah. Like, so what are some of the things you think men can embrace about vulnerability?
Oh man, that's a tough one. What can we embrace? I'm gonna go back to the emotions, because that's for me, that's what it was. You just have to embrace whatever you go through. You have to talk about what you go through. You can't hold it in. You're like a ticking time bomb if you hold that in, you know. So I think you really just have to release that. You have to talk about it. And if you're not able to have a therapist, maybe you have a best friend. You know, you just have to talk about it. If you don't talk about it, you're going to hurt yourself in the long run, for sure.
I agree. So even with that, not just being able to show emotions, you have to talk through it, because honestly, a lot of men don't have anybody to talk to. It's just like I said, with, like you think about our fathers and grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers, it's, you know, no crying, or a lot of do as I say, not as I do. Don't question me, right? So the way I think we changed how masculinity looks is just being open, like being as open as you can be and expressing your feelings. And again, like I said, just talking about it, because a lot of men don't have that. So me and my friends, you know, my close friends that I do have, you know, we are that for each other.
And it's a good thing you say about friends. It's about like embracing it, and embracing it. Like, what are some of the benefits you think being vulnerable has, like within your relationships, within your friendships?
Oh, there's a lot of great benefits, because the weight of the world, just being a black man in this society today, like you have the weight of the world, right? We're feared. Like you cut on the TV, like we're hunted, we're feared. So it's hard to express this to someone who doesn't understand. You know, so to actually have friends who understand that, and then me and my friends, my best friends who I have, we grew up together. So we've had those days of us riding in the car and being pulled over. No drugs, no guns, nothing, but being pulled over just because we're black, right? So we know that. We know we dealt with that, and we have kids, so it's a benefit because we have someone to talk to, someone who relates to us, rather than going out and having to face the world on our own and come back and with nobody to talk to. Like suicide for black men, like it's actually high. I forgot what the actual statistics are, but a lot of those men don't have anybody to talk to. Like nobody at all. So having friends is a great benefit. A great benefit.
All right. So for me,
Thank you. Did you guys enjoy that video? That video captures perfectly what I experienced and what I call my year of transparency. As I was praying about what this event was going to be called before it ever had a name, I was like, God, what am I going to talk about? Because I am very particular about hosting events only when I have a message. And so Kamal is that artist, and I listen to him all the time. He's on my playlist religiously. And that song came out 2 years ago. I've never heard of it. And months ago, I'm driving, and this song mysteriously, divinely pops up on my playlist. So much so that I had to stop driving when I heard it, and I watched the visuals, because in my spirit I heard, you're gonna tell them about how you survived your year of transparency. My tribe who has been with me the longest know that transparency has not always been my forte, okay? I'm a Virgo. You're gonna know what I want you to know, okay? So learning how to move into a state of being where I could fully be myself no matter what room I walked in. Confident is what they call me. Every post I see on Instagram, every DM I see is, how did you become so confident? And I love my introduction from my good friend Brian, and he calls out my accolades and what I've done and who I've touched and where I've been. And the truth is that as great as those things all sound, it's very new for me to be in a place where I can hear my accolades and not cringe. Where I can hear people say how great you are without feeling like I'm actually fronting. With being able to acknowledge, you know what? I think you're right. There is something special about me. It was very new for me to walk into a place where I could walk into a room and say, I belong here. And I don't know if that's just me, but maybe some of you are in your own seasons of transparency, where you're trying to figure out, how do I walk out of this place where I have created a persona? I have created an image that looks good on the outside. But if you actually saw what was behind the veil, would you accept me? 2018 was my year. I was young, okay? Younger. I've always been a high achiever. I've always excelled very quickly in my career. So fresh out of graduate school, I had landed the job of my dreams. I had landed the job that I had prayed for and said, this is going to be the company that I'm for. I got that job. Not only did I get the job, but I got the promotion. Not only did I get the promotion, but I got the team, and I got moved into leadership positions where they were grooming me to become directors and to take people to higher heights that I had never even been before. I'm like, do y'all know I'm new here? So here I am in this place where I'm successful. By that time, I had started building my coaching business. People are coming to me to help them transition in seasons of their life. But it didn't feel right. I got my first gig as a full-time coach for a company that I've worked for before. They said, Brittainy, you're great, you're awesome, you're amazing. We love that way you speak. You motivate our team. We want you to host a private seminar for us. Could you please send us an invoice for your services because we want you at our next conference? And I was like, no problem. Of course. You want me to come speak for you? Hey, done. Got it. Let me know the date. A week goes by, I haven't sent an invoice. 2 weeks went by. They were like, hey, Brittainy, we haven't heard from you. Could you send us an invoice? Yeah, sure, it's coming. It's going to be in your inbox today. Still no invoice. An entire month went by. The idea of sending this invoice to be paid for what I already do was driving me crazy. And I couldn't understand, Brittainy, what is the problem? Send the people, they want to pay you for what you're doing for free. Let them pay you. But as I would sit down at my laptop and I would develop the invoice and I would put a dollar amount for what I thought I was worth, I was afraid to send them an invoice to say, hey, pay me for what I give away to the world for free. It was only $300, y'all. But the idea of accepting payment for who I was. There's consequences when you don't know your value. Because then you can't ask for what you need in return for who you are. So being who I am, I said, Brittainy, there's a problem here. What Kamal pictured so perfectly in the video was this point in time where you have to finally confront yourself. Where you realize this persona, this image that you have fed the world, you don't believe it. And you're not sending the invoice because you're afraid that they're going to find out that maybe you're not who you say you are. Maybe you're not as great as they think you are. And so instead of sending this invoice, I booked a therapy appointment. Yes, I did, okay? Because I take my own advice. I booked my therapy appointment, and it was with a brand new therapist. Now listen, I don't know if y'all can imagine what it's like to be a therapist that goes to therapy, because all I do is go in there and play mind games. I just go in there. You better be better than me, okay? So I go into the therapy appointment, and he's getting to know me, and we're talking, and we're, having these chats. And about the third session in, he's like, Brittainy, I gotta tell you, you seem well adjusted. You're doing well in your career. Your business is taking off. You've got all these great things going on. Your dating life is spectacular. Like, I'm still trying to find out why you're here. I said, because I have problems. I got issues. And he's like, right, but what are they? He said, because from where I'm sitting, everything looks fine. Now, because I'm a therapist, I know what that tone means. And that's our nice way of saying I call BS. Now, either you're going to tell me the truth, as I said, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. What are you hiding? I had become very skilled at making my package on the outside flawless. Afraid of the chaos that was inside. And so he asked me, where do you want to start this story? And I began to talk to him about my childhood and how I was raised, and I paused. You know how you get that lump in your throat? When you like, ooh, do I want to say this? I realized at that moment, as I was avoiding eye contact, and I'm looking at the mirrors, and I'm looking at the photography, and I'm looking at everywhere except for him, I didn't want to look at him because I was like, okay, this is where he finds out that while I look good on the outside and while I'm successful, my story is complicated. Somebody say complicated. Complicated. I got a feeling today that I'm not the only one in here with a complicated story. I got a feeling that there's a few of us in here that can understand what it's like for people to look at you all day, every day, and they praise you on who you are and what you look like and what you built, not realizing that your past and your present actually conflict. And I didn't know how I was going to explain to this man, as complicated as I was, as degreed up as I was, with all the promotions and all the success, that I didn't come from that. And so as I started to tell him my story, he said, Brittainy, tell me about the time when you realized that you weren't where you came, that you weren't the person that you came from. Tell me about the time when you realized that you were different. And I was like, okay, we can have that conversation. And the story I told him shocked myself because I had actually forgotten it. And I said, the moment I realized I was different was when I left my mother's home at 16. And no, I didn't go off to college. I wasn't going off to some fancy boarding school. Me and my mother had just had a massive argument, and I packed a pink backpack with books, clothes, maybe a few hair products. And I put that backpack on and I took off walking. Now, if you guys are not from Austin, Texas, like I am, I walked from Austin, Texas to Pflugerville, which is essentially Pearland to Houston. It was a very hot day, okay? Listen, the things you do when you're angry, okay? Because I know it had to be about 105. It was in the middle of the summer, and I did not feel an ounce of heat, okay? And I walked because I didn't have money for bus fare. I told myself I'm going to my aunt's house, and as ironic as this is, I was 16, but my aunt owed me $50. So I was like, I'm going to pick up my money from her. So I'm walking to her house, and I was so angry. I was so hurt. At this point into my life, I had already been through so much chaos. Leaving my mother's house was an act of rebellion. It was an act of survival. It wasn't, I have an attitude today because I didn't get my way, but it was, if I don't leave here, if I don't leave here, I know I'm not the only one who's ever had a moment where you realize, if I don't get out of this, I don't know if that I'm going to be able to say that I'm going to walk out of this the same. Leaving was my act of rebellion to save myself. And so as I'm walking down this path and I'm walking down this road, I walked down the entire highway. What's miraculous is no one stopped. I'm 16 with a backpack walking down I-35. No one stopped to say, are you okay? Not one person said, this is odd. Right? If I saw a child walking down 288, I would inquire. Maybe there's something wrong. Not one person stopped. I was in Pflugerville when I finally got stopped by a cop. He pulls me over because I was walking fast. And he looks at me, he's like, where are you going? I said, I'm going to my aunt's house. He said, okay, where are you coming from? I don't trust police. Not at this time anyway, right? I'm like, I don't know what I can and can't say in this situation. I said, well, I'm coming from a sleepover. He said, a sleepover? He looks at me. He looks at my clothes. He said, you don't look like you're coming from a sleepover. I said, I am. My sister was supposed to pick me up, but she couldn't. My sister's in the room. I lied on her. It's the first time she's realizing that. I said, my sister couldn't pick me up, so I'm walking to my aunt's house. He said, And he just stared at me. He just stared at me. And I'm standing there and I'm like, is he gonna find out that I'm lying? Is he gonna see that I'm lying? He looked at me, he said, hurry up and get home. I said, okay. And I finished walking. But this time as I walked, I realized, Brittainy, it doesn't matter how much pain you're in, nobody's coming to save you. As an adult, I had to process the fact you were in pain. There was no way that man looked at you and he didn't see that you needed a savior. Have you ever been in a moment where you're sitting at a table with someone laughing and kikiing and they don't see the pain in your eyes? Sleeping next to somebody and they can't see that you're pieces of yourself. Going to church every Sunday and they say, stay strong, sister. I'm praying for you. But I'm going home in pieces. I realize no one's coming to save you. As I'm processing this story with my therapist, and I'm like, that was the first time I realized my life was never going to be regular. That I was never going to have this picture perfect life where I was going to graduate high school and I was going to go to prom and I was going to have all these beautiful moments. My senior year in high school looks like me working so that I can afford basic essentials, necessities, adulting to take care of myself. He said, Brittainy, In that moment, what broke for you? What about that story broke you? I said, I realized I don't get to be a kid anymore. That one of the fundamental parts of my growth was interrupted from the fact that my little girl wasn't protected. And she had to grow up faster than what was necessary. That being able to enjoy playing on the playground and having fun, and I would literally be in school and I couldn't identify with what they were talking about because I was trying to figure out how many hairstyles I could do so that I could pay a light bill, so that I could help my mother with the water bill. I was robbed of a childhood. And so as I'm sitting as an adult and I'm in these boardrooms, and I'm talking to people from different walks of life, and they're all laughing, and everything is light, and everything is fun, and I can't understand why I'm so heavy in this moment. Because I never got my joy back. I just learned how to cover it up with working. I learned how to cover it up with being busy. I learned how to cover it up with going out and girls' nights out, but I never truly got my joy back. So when I kept saying, I just want to be happy, I just want to be happy, why am I not happy? Because the little girl was never healed. He said, Brittainy, if you want to get your happiness back, we've got to heal that little girl. Because she was robbed. And I said, okay, cool. But I'm grown now, and I ain't got time for that. I got to go to work, and I got stuff to do. He was like, all right, now look. We can do this the hard way, or we can do it the easy way. Which one would you like? I said, cool. When I consented to going on this journey of transparency, I was sitting in my car journaling. I was talking to God. I don't know why a lot of my conversation with God happens in the car. I think, is it symbolic for I'm going somewhere? That's what we're going with, okay. All right. We going places, okay? But I'm journaling and I'm talking to him, and I was like, okay, first let's just be clear. I don't want to do this. Let's just be clear. Because if we're being honest, living a life where I only show people what I want them to see is easier, right? Putting on a smile and acting like everything's okay is easier because you don't need to be in my business anyway. So if I'm going to go on this journey, first of all, I need to know why. What am I signing up for? And in that moment, it was shown to me that the reason why transparency is needed and necessary is because you won't get happy in a fake version of you. You will not be elevated in a fake version of you. You will build nothing great in a fake version of you. So if you want any type of success that is substantial, I can only promote you, not who you told the world you are. So we have to get clear on who you are. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna do it. How I'm gonna do it? All of you guys, when you checked in today, got mirrors, correct? If you don't have a mirror, raise your hand. We have one person who doesn't have a mirror. If you put your mirror away, that's a good time to bring it out. Because I'm about to take you guys on my journey. Did I hear, oh Lord? I'm going to take you guys on the journey that I went through in 2018. It's not always a fun one, but it's a necessary one, right? If I want to truly start walking in who I am, becoming the version of me who I want to be, I got to get clear within myself. I have to be willing to confront myself. I have to be willing to tell the truth about how I got here, about who I am and who I'm not, so that I can finally evolve into who I want to be. One of the things that I'm very aware of is that I'm not the only person in here who had a wounded inner child. I'm not the only person in here who had to grow up early, who had to grow up too fast and too soon. So what we have to do is take a moment and first of all, acknowledge. Acknowledge the fact that I was robbed. One of the things that helped me is realizing that I was always entitled to that joyful part of myself. I was always entitled to be that little girl. But it doesn't mean that in your story that you're going to get what you're entitled to. I had to learn that I had to become the thing that I thought I lost. I had to become the thing that I thought was taken from me. And so in my own work, I learned I have to talk to little Brittainy, is what I call her. Little Brittainy, that inner child, is the part of you that sounds very much like a child at times, okay? My inner child is very childlike, very playful, but it's also very emotional. Many times our inner child is speaking for us and we don't even realize it. That as you're going about your day and you're going about your life and you have those moments where emotions rise up and you act out of character and you show your tail, as my mama would say. And we behave in ways that is unbecoming. We say things that is unbecoming, but we also accept things that's unbecoming. Because see, the inner child is impulsive. They only want what feels good and they only want it right now. The inner child is not worried about what's going to happen 5 years from now, 2 years from now, next week. But if this thing makes me feel good now, I want it now. Working with veterans who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, one of the most influential things he ever told me, I was working with a veteran who had lost an arm. And he said, Brittainy, you know, there's times where I'm going about my day and I'm going about my life and I'll reach for something with the arm that's not there. And he'll say, I have these phantom pains. Have you ever heard of phantom pains? He said, I have these pains as if the arm is there, but I know it's not. And how many of you know that we can have phantom pains in the heart? Yeah, my daddy ain't here, but I still have that pain of when he left. My mama said that thing 5 years ago, but I still have that pain of when she said it. Phantom pains, when the event has gone, come and gone, it's over and done with, but I still have these pains as if it just happened yesterday. So how do I deal with the pain of something that ain't even here anymore? Phantom pains is having to deal with the parts of your life that are in the past, but they still show up in how you make decisions today. He said, Brittainy, have you acknowledged that your little girl is still hurting? I was like, no, I just tell her, get over it. One of the staples that I would hear growing up, stop that don't hurt you. But what if it did? What if you reach this point in your life where you're telling yourself, stop it, you know that don't hurt anymore. You know that thing they said wasn't that bad. Stop being dramatic. Minimizing our pain instead of acknowledging what it was. I had to get to a point where I was willing to say, okay, it must be real because it's here. And while it may be based on my past, and while it may be based on someone's perception of me, and while it may be based on something that probably ain't got nothing to do with me, it's here. And if it's on my plate, I gotta eat it. So I gave myself permission to acknowledge the fact that this little girl is still in pain. And I began to do something that no one was ever willing to do for me. And that was to protect that little girl. There was no reason I should have been 16 years old, homeless. There was no reason that I should have been 13 with a job. But that was my story. The story isn't always fair, but if it's in your bag, it's your responsibility to heal it. As I go through my talk today, there's going to be times where I say mirrors up. And what do y'all think y'all going to do? Mirrors up. I want you to look at yourself in the mirror. We're gonna take a moment and talk to our little girl and little handsome boys. Yeah, I forget y'all. We're gonna talk to that child in us. I want you to look at yourself in your eyes. I don't want you to see the person who got dolled up to come here today. I don't want that version of you. I don't want you to see the cute version. But can you see that little girl? Can you see the little boy who was so joyful before life got to you? Who was so excited before you were disappointed? Looking at that little girl, I want you to say, I got you. I'm sorry that they did not protect you. I'm willing to hear all of your pains. Tell me what you need from me. That voice that you just heard is your nurturing voice. I had to learn how to reparent myself because telling myself it don't hurt doesn't help. When was the last time that you spoke to that little child inside of you and said, it's okay? I went from being the person who was so impatient with myself, from being the person who was quick to get agitated with myself, because here you go again feeling emotions. Here you go again having an emotional day. I didn't want to hear myself out. And so one day I just sat down and I said, what do you need today? How can I help you today? I feel it. And I would give myself permission to say, okay, we're gonna take a deep breath. Ready? 1, 2, 3. It's okay. You got it. And I learned to talk to myself in a way that no one has ever been patient enough to talk to me. As an adult, this is why I don't tolerate certain things. Because you can't treat me worse than I treat me. Come on. And I've learned how to love myself into a place that says, even on your emotional days, I got you. Even on the days where you feel like this is just too much, I got you. I give you permission to breathe. I give you permission to not be available. I give you permission to say that is not where you're going to be because I am protecting you. And in talking to my therapist, he was like, okay, we're making progress. As the year progressed, and it's so funny because I'm talking about this as if this is one therapy appointment, but this was over a span of time. He said, Brittainy, now tell me, what happened when nobody came to save the little girl? When nobody showed up for you? What did you do? I was like, I survived. Right? That's what you do. When no one's coming to save you, you do what? That's the black woman's motto, boy, I tell you. We figure it out. We make way out of no way, right? I call it my Gladiator era. Because when nobody was willing to save me, I had to learn to save myself. Now, we have little Brittainy, childlike Brittainy, joyful Brittainy, loving Brittainy, emotional Brittainy. And I said, okay, listen, you gonna get hurt. We're gonna put you over here to the side because you're too vulnerable. And you have no covering. You don't have mommy, you don't have daddy. You out here literally on your own. You gonna get hurt. So I developed what I called my Gladiator era, where I became that warrior. Y'all talk about the Dora Milaje? Listen, they ain't got nothing on Gladiator Brittainy. Gladiator Brittainy is actually scary, by the way. She's the hardened part of you. Your inner gladiator is the parts of you that is willing to protect you at all costs. In the modern age, you'll hear it as masculine energy. Oh, y'all heard that before? She's too masculine. Oh my God. She doesn't know how to sit in her feminine. No, she's had to learn how to protect herself. Masculine energy is that part of you that says, if I don't pick up a shield, if I don't pick up a sword, if I don't pick up these tools to protect myself, I'm going to die. So you built these things that protect you, and these things are personality types. These things are attitudes. These things are all of the ways in which you push people away so that they back up off you. Oh, I got very good at pushing people away. I got very good at putting a stop sign in front of me. You could only come so far because I don't know if you're here to hurt me. And before I let you hurt me, I will cut you down first. The Gladiator, Brittainy, was scary. Okay? She scared me. Okay? I heard it so eloquently put from a veteran I worked with. He said, Brittainy, I'm scared to get angry. Because there's a certain level of anger I get to, I don't know what I will and won't do. And I don't know if you ever got to that point where you say, I don't know what I will and won't do if you cross this line. I don't know what I'm capable of if you push me to a certain point. And when you are in survival mode, your back is always against the wall. In order for me to survive, homeless at 16, my back was against the wall. What people don't understand about PTSD and about survival is that when I am put with my back up against the wall, I'm gonna do whatever is necessary to survive the threat. And if that means hurting you, if that means pushing you away, if that means shutting you down, I'm going to do that. In your Gladiator season, you develop defense mechanisms. Defense mechanisms that make it hard for people to cross the wall that you just built. It makes it hard for people to see who you truly are. The thing about my Gladiator season, y'all, I loved her. Oh, girl. You have to understand, I loved her. She was the only one willing to do what no one was willing to do. She was the only one willing to protect the vulnerable parts of me. She was the only one willing to say what I really felt. She was the only one willing to say, no, you will not talk to me that way. She was the only one willing to say, you cannot come into this area of my life. She was the only one who was willing to say, that part of Brittainy is off limits. There was a whole war you would have to go through if you thought you were going to get that part of me. I loved her for how she protected me. I loved her for every situation that she got me out of. Understand, your Gladiator is necessary to survive trauma. Because when you're going through a survival season, we don't have time to sit down and cry about what's happening. We got to do something. Me walking on the side of I-35 was me doing something. Me working 3 jobs in college was me doing something. I was trying to survive the best way that I knew how, and that was my Gladiator. I loved her. Until one day my therapist said, Brittainy, as good as she is at protecting you, she breaks things. She doesn't know the difference between what's safe and what's a threat, so she just tears down everything. She's afraid of connection, so she's put you on this island, and this is why you feel alone even when in a room full of people. As much as you love her, she's the reason why you're lonely. As much as you love her, she's the reason why you can't connect. As much as you love her, she's the reason why you can't communicate how you feel other than I'm mad. As much as you love her, she breaks things. She hurts people. How many people tried to love you? How many people wanted to love you? And she hurt them. That was a big pill to swallow. That there were people in my life who saw my light before I did. There were people in my life who wanted to save me, There were people in my life who wanted to invest in me, and they said, I'm not willing to fight your gladiator. We can't expect people to want to tear down our own walls. One of the most hardest parts of my journey of transparency was for me to reach a point where I was okay with putting down the shield, putting down the sword. Because I said, if I do this, I'm out here, okay? I'm vulnerable. And I don't know how to protect me unless I'm aggressive. It meant that I was gonna have to learn a new way of being. With my gladiator, when I started to see my defense mechanisms within myself, that was the hardest confrontation. That a lot of the decisions that I had made up until that point were so protective in nature, but they were so destructive. So protective, but also isolating. You would think that the conversation was about confronting my gladiator. It wasn't. Brittainy, do you love the gladiator more than you love living a full life? Because in order to protect you, she's had to put you on this island where it's just you. If you want a bigger life, if you want joy, if you want happiness, if you want connection, if you want love, cool. But do you love that vision more than you love who she is? I had to make a decision. I decided I would rather have a full life than to be this guarded shell of who I was. So we had a conversation. Mirrors up. Can you see the hardened parts of you? Can you see the parts of you that push people away? Can you see the parts of you that run from people who want to love you, that make excuses when people want more from you? Can you see the parts of you that don't know why people want to get close to you from the beginning? And you question, is the love even genuine? Because all I've showed you is my hardened self. There's no way you actually love me when I've cut you so many times. I want you to look at your gladiator. Say, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for being what nobody was willing to be. Thank you for showing up for me when I was about to drown. But I release you. I love you, but I have to let you go. That conversation, y'all, had me on the floor. Okay? I didn't want to put my sword down. I didn't want to put my shield down. And I will tell you guys, that transition is one that took a very long time. It probably took the longest. Because I didn't know any other way of being. And what's funny, many of us were raised by gladiators. I didn't have a nurturing voice because my mother was a gladiator. I didn't have a nurturing voice because I was raised by Amazons. So there was no safe place for me to say, I feel a certain way. But the expectation was, you keep moving. You keep pushing. Past how you feel, suffocated, bury it, we don't have time for it. Medicate it. Drink it away, sex it away, laugh it away, work it away. Whatever you do, you don't confront it. So there was no model for how I was going to get out of survival mode with myself. So releasing my gladiator was a complete leap of faith, of hoping that some way I'm going to be shown another way of living. Some way I'm going to be shown how to do this in a more productive way. And so, in moving out of that phase, ooh, listen, this is just extra. As life would have it, you're going to have to release your gladiator in the seasons when you are the most vulnerable. As life would have it, you're going to have to release your gladiator in the seasons where you need them the most. Yeah, it would be great if we could release her when we're good, right? When everything is safe. But that wouldn't be a leap of faith, now would it? You're going to have to release your gladiator when the gladiator is warranted. I released my gladiator when I was coming out of a 6-year abusive, mentally and emotionally abusive relationship. You will not be suing me. I released my gladiator in the midst of coming through a complete heartbreak and breakdown of who I was. I released my gladiator when I had released a relationship that took everything out of me. In a place where I had the least to give. In a place where really I was so exhausted, fighting felt like for what? Have you ever gotten to a place where you're like, fight for what? Because every time I fight, it's like I find another one. What I learned with my gladiator is that as long as I was willing to hold on to the gladiator personality, as long as I was willing to hold on to the fighting piece of me, when a gladiator walks through this world, the only thing they attract is more conflict. Because you cannot thrive in softness with a gladiator. So the people that I'm most attracted to are, guess what? Confrontational. The love that feels the most comfortable is what? Confrontational. What got me into that relationship was the fact that because I was walking in my gladiator every day, I attracted someone I would have to fight instead of love. Because fighting at that time felt like love to me. This is what I've known my entire life. So now I'm creating a cycle in my life where I am attracting exactly what I am. And I don't like it. So what happens when I have to release my gladiator in the middle of a war when they deserve that gladiator? They deserved it. But you say, I would rather have peace. I would rather have peace. Because every time my gladiator went into battle, she came out with more scars. Every time she went toe-to-toe with somebody, she came out with more self-esteem issues. Every time I won a battle, I lost somebody. I realizing fighting became very expensive. And I was losing me in the midst of the battle. Do you want you? Or would you rather keep fighting? So I hit this point in my journey where I said, as much as I love her for who she is, I'm willing to release her. Because she's bringing me more sorrow than she is joy at this point. I'm going to have to learn how to protect myself. My therapist said, okay, Brittainy, progress. Now that you're not willing to fight anymore, what does that look like? What do you look like when you're not constantly guarded? What do you look like when you're not constantly stiff-arming people? What do you look like when you finally allow somebody to see you? The real you. The you with no makeup on. The you on your worst days. The you when you have nothing to give and everything to give. Who are you when you're not constantly saying, I'm good? Knowing that you just finished wiping your own tears. Who are you when you tell the truth? That shift happened for me when I got tired of fighting. I got tired of acting like things didn't hurt when they did. And as I'm leaving this relationship, I was walking through Walmart. Great things happen in Walmart, okay? Can we just go there? All right, my best friend is a Target lover, but whatever. So I'm walking through Walmart, and this is after I have left this relationship. Now, my tribe, who has been with me the longest, y'all know, I left the relationship, and I had just moved to Houston, right? So I was maybe in Houston 2 years. I didn't know anybody here. So Houston was not initially a warm place for me. I was here by myself, okay? Didn't know nobody. And as I left this relationship, I got my own apartment. And when you are making transitions in the middle of heartbreak, silence is loud. Silence is loud. So staying in my apartment was excruciating because there was nobody but me there. And I'm confrontational. The thing that always gets me, and my tribe loves me, all right, I love y'all, but when they say, Brittainy, I can't stand to be by myself. I said, oh, do you know why that is? Do you know why you can't stand to be by yourself? You got beef with you, sis. I was in that apartment by myself with the number one enemy on my hit list was me. And so I found myself in Walmart because I had nowhere else to be. And I was not going to be at home by myself. And I am walking in Walmart so much so that I just lost track of what I even went in there for. And I'm just walking, making rounds. Over and over, just walking. I'm sure they thought I wanted to steal something. But I was just lost in my own thoughts. I was walking with my head down, dragging my feet. I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders, because here you are in this new city where you know no one. No one has taken care of you. You're exposed, you're vulnerable, you have none of your weapons of protection. What are you going to do? And I'm walking with my head down for, I want to say, a whole hour or so. It was a sad day. And as I'm walking with my head down, a complete stranger, it was an older woman, she stopped me dead in front of me. And I looked up at her, I said, yes, ma'am. She said, young lady, don't you ever walk with your head that low to the ground. She said, I don't know what you're going through, but whatever it is, it ain't gonna break you. Yeah, breathe. And just in that moment, in a moment where you feel like it is gonna break you, in that moment where you feel like, no, you don't get it. You don't know what I've been through. Like you don't know. This ain't just this situation. It was the situation before that, and the one before that, and the one before that, and the one before that. That this was the straw that broke the camel's back. It's been a lifetime of struggle, ma'am. You don't get it. This could be the thing that's gonna break me. One of the things that I learned as I've continued to shuffle through Walmart was that something did break. And that was the image that I created of who I wanted to be. When I released my Gladiator, my walls of protection came down. And what was exposed was the truth of who I am. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And it was terrifying to be able to see everything that I am and say, oh my gosh, it's a mess. It is a mess. And I couldn't move through my current phase of life with where I was being successful, all these degrees, doing well in my career, because I knew that I was cool with me. But would the world be cool with me if they knew? If you saw my scars, would you be cool with me? Or would you judge me? If you saw everything that I went through and what I had to survive, releasing my Gladiator meant that I was given permission to move into my season of softness. But I was afraid, because softness means I have nothing to hide. But I do got a lot to hide. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to show everything of myself to the world, right? I've always said my relationship with God has always been a me and him conversation. I was like, why you keep telling me to tell these people what we talk about? I just want it to be me and you, right? Because that was my safe place. Releasing your Gladiator gives you permission to move into your safe place, to move into your soft place. And so when I see people on Instagram and they post soft life season, hashtag soft life, I say they don't know what they're asking for. They don't know. Because do you know that softness comes with vulnerability? Do you know that softness means I can't hide? In order to be soft means that I'm preparing myself to be a place where someone can lay their head. Am I willing to hold someone else up? Am I strong enough to hold someone else up? I can be none of those things for someone else until I first become what? That for myself. So are we really ready to have a soft life season? Somebody's like, I don't know no more. I thought I was. I came here, so I was prepared. I was prepared for my soft life, okay? Soft life means I'm willing to strip myself. I'm willing to allow you to see me. What sticks out to me about that woman in the Walmart was she was showing me, first of all, you're not hiding your pain. I know you think you are. I know you think you're doing a good job of it. I know you think they can't see it. But they see it. When you get agitated, they see it when you snap. They see it when you go ghost. They see it when you shut down. They see it. So if they're going to see it, I might as well heal it while we're here. So talking to the therapist, I said, okay, what scares me about the next season, which I've coined divine gentleness, was the fact that I had to move past the things that I was still ashamed of. It's so funny when new people meet me, like in my real life, like not on Instagram, right? And they're trying to get to know me and they'll be like, oh my God, Brittainy, like, yeah, Christmas is at our house, we open gifts and we do this, that, and that. What does your family do? Well, when we're not arguing or fighting and the cops aren't being called, hey, listen. When I tell people stories from my past, the jaws that drop. When I tell them how abnormal my childhood was, the eyes that are buck wide open. They can't believe that something so glorious came from. That something so beautiful came from. That something so divine came from that. The follow-up question is, how did you? How did you? How did you come back from your ashes? And then I go on to tell a story of how I had to become the phoenix that rose from everything that burned me down. How I had to heal from everything that I felt was holding me back. Now I have to explain how what you see right here is possible. That's how Instagram happened. All I do is tell y'all what I did. That's literally all I do. I had to confront the shame I felt about where I came from. I had to confront the shame that I felt, not about what I did, but it was what somebody did to me. I didn't ask for a lot of the things that was in my bag, but they were there. What was stopping me from sending that invoice? They eventually got the invoice, by the way, okay? We had the workshop, it was glorious. What was stopping me from sending the invoice? Who are you? Who are you to charge? Who are you to ask for something in return? Don't they know you're damaged? You actually don't even deserve to be here if you look at the statistics. There was a who are you moment where I had to be like, dang, well, who am I? Because the who am I is not what you do. It's not what did you accomplish. It's not what degree did you get. It's no, who are you when you're in the bathroom by yourself? Who are you when you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you haven't forgiven yourself for what you did 2 years ago? You didn't forgive yourself for the person that you let in your life that came through and wreaked havoc. You didn't forgive yourself for the thing that you said that caused harm to your partner. You didn't forgive yourself for pushing away that person who wanted to love you or the best friend relationship that you let die. You haven't forgiven yourself for the ways in which you're imperfect. And this is why you're having your who are you moment. Who do you think you are? My divine gentleness season happened when I gave myself permission to be perfectly imperfect. That I can be this glorious being, flawless. And also be a person who has a complicated past. That I could be someone who is great at what she does, skilled at who she is, gifted, and still be a work in progress. How do you get to a point where you bring it all to the forefront? You're not all good and you're not all bad. Learning duality. I'm allowed to be both. That I can be beautiful and great and magnificent and smart and complicated and my family crazy. I don't know how I'm going to bring this man home to meet my family because that's going to be a complicated conversation. Listen, we'll get through when we get there. Cross that bridge at that time. It all comes together. I don't have to pick and choose. And some of you have a pick and choose relationship with yourself. I love you when you're doing something good. I treat you with love and kindness and respect when you are performing a certain way. But what happens when you aren't performing? What happens when you have nothing to brag about or post on Instagram? What happens when it's just you? Listen, you will have seasons where nothing good is going on in your life, where you have nothing to brag about, nothing to post about, nothing to say, look at who I am and what I've done. You will have seasons of non-accomplishment to show you what you really believe about yourself. Who are you when you aren't achieving? Can you still stand before yourself and say, I'm proud? What makes that conversation hard, that task hard, is because I'm still holding against myself what I did, the decisions I made. When I came out of that relationship, my head was down, looking at the floor, shoulders heavy, because I did that to myself. I had finally realized I couldn't keep pointing my finger at him. Because mind you, 2 years in, I was like, now, Brittainy, I don't think this is him, sis. Like, I don't think God was in this at all. But we'd be like, but God, like, you can change. I can change. God, you said that if I pray, you said that if I came before you, God was like, I wouldn't talk about that one. I didn't put my name on that. That was not, I had to take responsibility for the fact that you did that. And the shame that comes with knowing that I did it? You mean to tell me I broke my own heart? I disappointed myself. It wasn't my mama. I can't blame her no more. It wasn't daddy. Like, it was societal reform, racism, something. It was something other than me. The shame that comes with realizing it was me. I did it. Divine gentleness comes when you reach a point when you're willing to say, I forgive you. Mirrors up. When you look in the mirror, I want you to see that thing you did. I want you to see the times that you feel you have dishonored yourself. You know that time when you let somebody have access to you who didn't deserve it? How about that time that you kept going back knowing that it was going to hurt every time? I want you to see how you talked yourself into doing what you knew was going to hurt you. I want you to see how you willingly allowed yourself to walk into situations that didn't honor you. I want you to see how you minimized yourself so that you could fit into somebody's life. I want you to see how you turned red flags green. I want you to see all the times you lied to yourself about what was going on in your life so that the pill was easier to swallow. And I want you to see all the times that you refuse to hold yourself accountable for making a new decision. Now, seeing all those things, I want you to look at yourself in your eyes and say, I forgive you. I forgive you for being too hurt to make a better decision. I forgive you for making you think that you were only lovable if you were discounted. I forgive you for not asking for what you were really worth. I forgive you for sacrificing me for somebody else. Take a deep breath. Forgiveness is one of the more powerful tools that I still use today. That makes it easier for me to digest when I'm human. That makes it easier for me to digest when I'm having imperfect moments. The hard thing about forgiveness is realizing that forgiving doesn't mean I forgot. So you'll forgive yourself today, and then by the time you get home tomorrow in your shower, that thing comes back up again. That memory, that situation. For some of y'all, it's gonna call you because you didn't block the number like you were supposed to. I told y'all, block came from Jesus. Okay? He was trying to help some of y'all. It's gonna come back up. And when that thing rises up again, I still forgive you. When that thing rises up again, I still want you. I had to get to a point where I was willing to say, I want you even on your worst day. I want you on your best behavior and on the, you're working on that over there. I want you even in your imperfections because I'm not going to allow your shortcomings to blind me from your greatness. And very much like someone on the panel said today, you spend more time thinking about the shortcoming than you do thinking about the greatness. Giving myself permission to move into my divine gentleness, I had to sit down and realize this chick that rose from the ashes, how strong is she that she was willing to bounce back from everything that tried to literally take her out? It wasn't by accident that woman found me in Walmart. And if you don't start to see the divinity in who you are, that it's all a setup. What am I going to do with this person that I'm becoming? Who am I going to become? The transparency The journey to transparency allowed me to reach a point where I was willing to move out of my pain long enough to find the purpose. Move out of what's wrong to finding out what can I do about it. From moving away of the story that I created, that Brittainy is the one who is victimized, that you get the short end of the stick. Because don't we create stories about our lives? I'm the victim. Bad things always happen to me. I'm never gonna get married. I'm never the one they choose. I'm always the one who's forgotten. Don't we create stories and then start making decisions that are in alignment with the story? And then we say, God, how could you? All right, I ain't gonna go there. I had to challenge the stories that kept telling me I was small. I had to challenge the stories that kept telling me, Brittainy, every time people tell you, oh yeah, we love how you talk, girl, they lying. They just said that because you cute. It was just one. It was just two. And it was easy to dismiss when it was just this person or that person, every now and again. Moving into my season of gentleness, it came more frequently. It came nearly every day. Because when I moved into my season of divine gentleness, my walls were down, which meant people could see me. People can now see the light that I had behind the wall. People can now see the value that I was sitting on. People could now see what I brought with me when I walked into the room. And some of them were inspired by who I was, and some were intimidated by who I was. I didn't know who I was, so I was like, what is your problem? All I did was just show up. All I did was say something. But I heard the power in your voice before you did. I saw your light before you did. And understand that if people are intimidated by your light, they will attack it. And if you don't know who you are, you will take those attacks as confirmation of maybe I don't belong in this area. Maybe the attacks are coming because I'm not in the right lane. But maybe you are. And it's the imposters in that lane that are like, hey sis, we need you to move because you're making it real uncomfortable right now. My therapist asked me, Brittainy, are you willing to make some people uncomfortable so that you could be who you are? Because in finding and navigating divine gentleness, I was starting to realize the influence that came with who I was. That if all I said was A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I bet you I could say it so powerful, I will have people crying on by the time we get to F, okay? Somebody gonna drop a tear before I get to Z, okay? That's the gift. It's gonna work even when I don't want it to work. Are you willing to make people uncomfortable because you've accepted everything you are? What they hate about the season of divine gentleness is the fact that I can't use your past against you anymore. I'm the first one to say, I was there, I did it. I wrote a book about it. It's on Amazon. Would you like to buy it? I will be the first to expose to you who I am. That way you can't use it as ammunition against me later. So when I walk into the room heavy, when I say what I have to say, when I show up red hair and all, I won't be intimidated by the side eye you gave me. Because I gave myself that side eye years ago. Girl, listen, I got over it, you will, it's okay. When I confronted me, it took away your power to control me. So I'm not gonna be quiet anymore. I would go into meetings and literally mute myself because I knew, Brittainy, every time you speak, people listen to you. Every time you talk, the eyes are on you, and I was so uncomfortable with people's eyes being on me because what are they looking at? When I found out I was something to be looked at, scars and all, that's where my power came from. Headship was the tail end of my season of transparency. Headship was the personality. I told my therapist, I said, as I'm going through this, and I'm writing in my journal, there's this voice I just can't get out of my head, and I don't know where it's coming from. I was like, every day I'm going to work, I'm going to school. Like, as I'm just going throughout my day, I keep hearing this voice. And it sounds like me, but it's not me. It sounds like me, but it's different. I can't put my finger on it. There's just this voice. And as I'm going throughout my day, I'll hear that voice say, don't talk to them. I'll hear that voice say, don't wear that outfit, wear the other one. I'll hear this voice say, you need to stand out in this meeting. I'll hear this voice say, apply for the leadership program. I kept hearing this voice giving me direction on doing things that I normally wouldn't do. And I was like, I don't know what it is. One night I went to sleep. I'm dead in my dreams, okay? Counting sheep. And I heard this voice give the most powerful talk ever. I heard this voice speaking as if it literally, whatever the biggest stage in this world is, it was on that stage, and the voice was powerful. The voice was so divine, and it was so clear, it was so crisp, and I woke up from that dream in tears. And God confirmed, Brittainy, that's you. It's the version of you that you haven't become yet. At this point, I had just started posting videos on Facebook, okay? They were blurry. I was well over 200 pounds, okay? I was not me. He said, that's the version of you that you haven't become yet. That's the promise of who you will be. The voice you're hearing is your headship personality. That's the part of you that is divinely connected to who you're supposed to be. That's the part of you that keeps reminding you of that thing that is special about who you are. That's the voice that Kamal was confronting in that video. The voice that shows up and says you are playing too small. The voice that holds you accountable to say, why are we back in this cycle? Why have you allowed your gladiator to come back into this season where you should be thriving and at peace? Why have you allowed your inner child to hijack your emotions, and so now you're no longer effective? What are we doing? My headship voice is the voice that holds me accountable for being me. You don't get to shrink back into who you used to be. I don't care what life throws at you. And so I'm telling him, there's this voice I keep hearing, and I don't know what the voice wants. It don't shut up. He said, have you tried giving the voice what it asks for? No, because what it wants is uncomfortable, makes me uncomfortable, and I don't want to do that. Have you tried listening to what it's telling you to do instead of resisting what it's telling you to do? I said, no, but I guess I could try that. I guess we could take a stab at it. So I said, okay, cool. By this time, I'm well within my coaching practice, and I'm hosting an event. Now, I hosted this event the same year Hurricane Harvey came through. So Hurricane Harvey came through my birthday weekend. The event was my birthday weekend. I was like, yes, no event is canceled. Hurricane came through, y'all. We can't do nothing. Because the voice said, at this event, you're going to tell the story that you've told no one before. And I was like, nah, I don't know about that one. I don't know if I'm ready to tell that story. And so as I'm listening to my therapist, give the voice what it wants so it's not going away. Okay, cool. I said, all right, we're gonna postpone the event. We pushed the event out like 2 weeks, maybe 3, because Hurricane Harvey was a bit much. It was a lot. We pushed it to October. It was, I don't know the name of the event. It was an event. I'm trying to think. Janae was there. But we had the event. I'm super nervous. My body is shaking. did not wear heels because my feet were so, like, I just couldn't take stimulation. I was like, I don't want nothing on me. Take it all off. I don't want nothing on me, because I was going to go get naked. I have some of my closest friends in the room right now. They were there that day. They are they're like Velcro. Okay, I just be falling apart and they be like, put it together with tape and saran wrap if needed. But they were there, and I said, I have to get naked in this moment. I don't want nothing to distract me from what I have to do. You got to get to a point where you take purpose that seriously. Where you say, if it's a distraction, I'll take it off. If the shoes are distracting me, I'll take it off. If the earrings are distracting me, I'll take it off. I'm willing to get naked because through my transparency comes someone else's. And when I gave God my yes to do and be who I am supposed to be, I said, God, if it's just one I'm supposed to impact, I'll take the one. But I can't impact the one with who I'm pretending to be. So I literally gave that speech with no shoes on. And what made it hard, my mother was in the audience. Who y'all think I was talking about? Right. And what's funny, I told the story, and she had never even heard that story before. I got naked and talking about who I was and why I was doing what it was, how I knew that I was supposed to be doing what I was called to do. I talked about not being able to run away from your purpose even when you try. That when you are called to be someone, when you're called to do something, that something is going to happen even when you try your best to block it from happening. I talked about my mother and I, when I was 16, before I left home, we got into a really bad argument. And she told me I couldn't go to hair school anymore because my first career was going to be cosmetology. I was going to have the baddest hair salon in Austin, Texas. Okay? All this speaking, that was never no, that was not it. I was going to do hair. And so my mom was like, you're not going to cosmetology school. I want you to drop out. I was like, but that was my way out the hood. That was my golden ticket. So what set in for me was despair. Because this was the only way that I saw myself being able to come out of what I was in. It was my first dream that was taken from me. And I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you felt like a dream was taken from you, that you felt like you missed it, that you felt like you ran out of time for it. In this situation, I felt robbed of it. So I dropped out. I went home, took a shower, and then I swallowed 3 handfuls of sleeping pills at 16. I went to bed, and I remember getting in bed, finally feeling relieved. I was like, finally, I ain't gonna wake up to this tomorrow. Finally. And it wasn't that I wanted to die. It wasn't that I made a decision that I want to kill myself. I just said, I'm tired of living in this pain. There are things that we kill when we're in pain. There are things you should kill when you're in pain. It just shouldn't be you. After 3 handfuls of sleeping pills, I woke up the next morning. And I woke up to my mother turning on the lights as she normally would. Y'all get up, it's time to go to school. I was angry. I was mad. Why am I still here? What am I here for? I don't want to be here. I made a decision to take my life. Why didn't it work? I made a decision to abort mission. Why didn't it work? I made a decision to opt out. Why didn't it work? I went to school because I was playing basketball. I went to school feeling horrible. Basketball practice, we're running sprints because my team sucked and we lost. So we running sprints back to back, back to back, back to back. So much so I got sick and I ran outside and I threw up. All the pills that I digested, barely any of them actually dissolved. Of 3 handfuls of pills, barely any of them dissolved. And in that moment, while I wish I could tell you that I was excited, I wish I could tell you that I thank God, I wish I could tell you that I was happy about it, I was pissed. Because now I can't even kill myself. In retrospect, I can look back on that and say, Brittainy, I know why you didn't die now. Look at what would have died with you. Headship is the part of you that reminds you that you are not insignificant in this world. Headship is the part of you that reminds you that you don't have permission to keep acting as if you do not have significance in who you're called to be. As a man, as a woman, there is somebody somewhere who is looking to you as an example. If they got up, if they tried again, if they were willing to put it all on the line, if they were willing to take the risk, if they were willing to learn how to fall in love again, if they were willing to learn how to bring their walls down, look at what they did when they took the risk and confronted themselves. Everything I do is teaching my tribe, the Brit Brigade, it's teaching my tribe how to constantly confront yourself. How to constantly live in a place of cognitive dissonance where it's always my old self versus my new self, my lower self versus my higher self. Am I willing to live in that place where I constantly remind myself, you're better than that? I know that inner child wants you to take that low offer that they made you. I know that he offered you a situationship, but you're better than that. I know he offered you this fake level of intimacy, but you're better than that. I know they offered you the job with the promotion attached to it, but you're better than that. The headship is the part of you, it's that little voice that keeps saying, keep coming. Keep coming. I promise you it gets better. Keep coming. So as I'm in therapy and I'm processing all of these personalities, I realize the inner child, the gladiator, divine gentleness, headship, they're not phases. It's not like I'm playing a video game and I complete level 1, now I go to level 2, complete level 2 now. No. They're all present every day. They are the parts of you that live within you every day. And in order to better understand yourself, I have to realize, when am I moving through my life and I'm listening to my child? When am I making decisions as my inner child? When am I making decisions as my divine gentleness? They all live within you simultaneously. What headship does is she is the one who gives them directions on what they need to do. My inner child is great at allowing me to live in a place of joy. My inner child is great at allowing me to find that happy place within myself where I can say, Brittainy, you deserve to smile. Brittainy, you deserve love. Brittainy, you deserve to be joyful. You deserve to play. That it is not healthy for you to always be in a place of unhappiness. My inner child reminds me, Brittainy, it's okay for you to be in this place where thriving is possible. My inner child allows me to get in touch with the childhood that I thought I lost. It's my humor. It's my dance. It's my place where I get to get in touch with my body again. My inner child is where I get to sit down and be vulnerable, and I get to connect with people on a human level. I've learned that my gladiator, while she is scary at times, she's useful. Because when it's time to do the hard stuff, it's not divine gentleness that stands up. When it's time to build the exception, when it's time to build a business, when it's time for me to do the things that require every ounce of level of respect that I have, it's the gladiator that shows up and says, I got you. When it's time for me to set boundaries with people, it's the gladiator that shows up and said, I got this. When it's time for me to do the hard parts of my life that move me into a bigger calling of who I am, it's the gladiator. I've learned that if I give my gladiator something to do, she won't hurt people. I've learned that I can channel her energy to build the next thing that's in my life. The gladiator is not useless. She is purposeful when you use her correctly. I've learned that I can be gentle and rigid when I need to. That I don't have to disown my gladiator to also live in my place of femininity and softness. For 4 years, I worked with male combat veterans, and they would fight me when I told them, your gladiator is the reason why your wife won't come home. That if you want to build a place where your wife and your kids can rest with you in a place of peace and love and happiness and joy, you're going to have to get in touch with that gentle part of you. The gladiator is purposeful when it's attached to legacy building. My gladiator builds my legacy. She does what's hard. She does what I feel is impossible. She's the reason why I continue to cross mountains. That's not my divine gentleness, that's my gladiator. I learned that I can still love her for who she is, just in a different way. My divine gentleness gives me permission to rest. I have disowned being a strong Black woman for some time. I have disowned feeling as if I need to be the fixer in everybody's life. I have disowned that I'm the one who has to save everybody. I don't care what my title is. My divine gentleness allows me to be in a place where I am being who I am instead of doing something. Divine gentleness has given me permission to love on a whole nother level and to be loved on a whole nother level. One of the hardest things that I had to do was realize that in order for me to thrive in my divine gentleness, yes, thank you, sir. Like that. In order for me to be able to thrive in my space of divine gentleness, I had to become someone who was safe to be gentle with. Divine gentleness taught me, Brittainy, intimacy, first of all, is more than about sex. Intimacy means that I'm allowing someone to see who I am. Right now, we're being very intimate, by the way, okay? But my divine gentleness was what I used to reclaim who I am. One of the biggest lies we were taught is that we would have to fight to be in this world. I've learned that if I have to be in this environment and fight you for it, I'd rather not. My ideas of prosperity are linked to my divine gentleness. That I am entitled to a life of abundance. That I am entitled for good things to happen to me. That I am entitled to create a story where I am the victor. That I am entitled to create a story where love finds me and I don't have to chase it. That's what divine gentleness has allowed me to do. I use my headship to tell each one of them what they should be doing. Headship gives the orders of who you want to be. I created a vision of who headship is for me. How she moves, how she walks. I've created a vision of how she shows up in the room, of who she moves, how she asks for what she wants, how she persuades the world to work for her highest good. My headship is the one that drives me forward on the days that I don't feel like I want to move forward. On the many, 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 many days you're going to have where you have to say, is legacy really worth it? Is purpose really worth it? Because I've taken more hits than I can count right now. And I'm really questioning if becoming this next level of me is actually worth it. If becoming this next level of me is actually going to pay off in the way that I want it to. I'm questioning, is headship actually worth it? And it's times like that that headship reminds me that you have to become who you were designed to be. Because there is somebody who is waiting on you to plant a seed. It's not just about who you are. It's about the change that you are enabled to create in this world. So as I live my life, as I concluded my journey of transparency, I realized that by showing my heart to the world, I created a ripple effect. It was like every room I walked in, I gave somebody else permission. Every time I showed up as me, somebody else felt more courage about who they wanted to be. In my master's degree, they asked me to go to volunteer at a school. No, don't want to do it. Don't like working with children, don't want to do it. I didn't have a choice, so I went. And I'm working with these kids, and there was this little Mexican girl. She just kept staring at me, like staring. And as we're doing different workshops and everything, I walked to her, I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yeah, I'm fine." But she just kept staring. I was like, what is wrong with this little girl? Everything I did, she just stared. Later on in the workshop, she pulled me to the side. She said, "Can I talk to you outside?" I said, "Sure." I took her outside. She said, "Ma'am, I don't know if you realize this." She said, "but things are not okay at home. And I don't know what to do." She was the same age I was when I ran away. She said, "I don't know what to do. And I don't know if I'm going to make it out of this." She said, "I just feel like you know what I'm supposed to do." She said, "I don't know why." She was literally the little Hispanic version of me. The only difference is that she had me when I had nobody. What if you were the voice that somebody is looking for because you didn't have that voice? What if you were the thing? You went through what you went through and you survived what you went through because you were supposed to come back and get somebody. She said, "Miss Noel, what am I supposed to do?" I grabbed her hand and I said, "Girl, you are in for the fight of your life. But I promise you it's gonna get better." And we sat there and I ran down to her everything that she was about to face and everything that she was gonna go through and everything that she needed to do to survive. We were both in tears in the hallway by the time we finished. She said, "Thank you." She said, "I think I got it from here." Your transparency does not make you weak. Sharing your story, showing up as who you are, does not make you weak. It makes you the tool that God is going to use to help the next person. You don't have the audacity to stop acting like you don't know who you are. Somebody is waiting on you to tell your story. Stop hiding. I learned that transparency is my gift. It's uncomfortable at times. It has my anxiety up at times. I cry at times. But I'm willing to accept everything that comes with this gift. Mirrors up. You are worth it. I need you to stop playing small. I need you to believe in who we are. This is your headship talking. Come to the forefront. Come to the light. Show up as who you were designed to be. I'm willing to fight for you. I will fight for you on your best days. I will fight for you on your worst days. There is nothing you have done that makes you unlovable. There is nothing you have done that makes you a mistake. The world needs you. But I need you. Headship, thank you for loving me. Now, I want better energy on that. Look in the mirror. Headship, thank you for loving me. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for not leaving me. I don't know if I have sold you on transparency, because I'm very clear that the journey isn't enjoyable all of the time. It wasn't enjoyable for me. But I'm in a place where I want you guys to realize that I'm at a crossroads and I have to decide. Now that you have seen the pattern, it's going to be hard to go back to normal. It's going to be hard to go back as if you didn't know. So you get to make a decision when you leave here today. Who do you want to be? One of the most profound things that I learned was that in this journey, the most powerful person in the room is the one who has the least to hide.